What's going on, guys? BusterBarnes back again, this time with a new video, and that video is predicting every Chelsea player's FIFA 21 rating. Will they be downgraded? Will they be upgraded? Well, I am going to try and figure it out based off of their last season and based sort of off how FIFA ratings work. You know, if a player has an amazing season, they don't automatically go up 8 points unless they're, a bronze. So we'll have to try and be a bit realistic. This isn't necessarily what I think these players should be rated. It's what I think FIFA are going to do, taking part in, their whole guidelines for how they rate players, and also, combining that with what I think of the player and their last season and their standing in the game. So we're going to go from position to position, starting with goalkeeper, and who better off to start with than Kepa Arrizabalaga, our number one goalkeeper, hopefully not for long. And what is he rated? He is rated 84 in FIFA 20, and let's be honest, that is absolutely ridiculous. He is not an 84 rated goalkeeper, at least off of last season. Knowing FIFA, they may only downgrade him by 2 because he is a Chelsea goalkeeper, but I'm going to go with him now being an 81 rated keeper, which I still think, to be honest, is quite high. Let's be honest, last season he was the worst goalkeeper in the Premier League. He should be probably a 75 rated goalkeeper, but keeping it slightly realistic, I'm going to say 81 for him. His potential in stuff like career mode should probably still be quite high, because I do think he could still become a good goalkeeper, but probably not for us. Hopefully we get a new goalkeeper or sell him or something. But yeah, not a great season from him, and that is why I've given him the downgrade by 3 points. Moving on next to our other goalkeeper, Willy Caballero. What can you really say? Just hasn't really played that much this season. When he has, he's looked alright, but he is getting older. I don't think he's a great keeper. I'm actually going to go for him being downgraded by 1, which means he will now be from a 75 gold to a 74 rated silver. So, fair enough to Willy, but let's be real. FIFA like to downgrade players based off age. He hasn't done anything special this season, so I do think a -1 is in his future. Now, let's move on to, I guess, the centre-backs. Why not? Let's move on to the centre-backs, and I guess I'll start with Antonio Rudiger, an 82 rated centre-back, our highest rated centre-back in FIFA 20, which I think a lot of people will probably disagree with now after the season he's had. I do think Rudiger is still a very good centre-back. I do think he just had a bit of an off-season. I don't think we should sell him, but I do think he should be downgraded by 1 point and go down to an 81 rated goal from an 82. I do think that is probably fair on him. Going to next will be Andreas Christensen, a player who I do think is probably Chelsea's worst centre-back, and a player who I think we should sell. Yes, he has potential, but I don't think he's at Chelsea. I don't think he's cut out for the Premier League. And I do think he is overrated a bit when it comes to, his ability on the ball and, the type of player he is. Yes, he's an academy boy. I like Christensen. I want him to become world class. I hope he does, but I just don't see it. I do, however, think that judging by his, performances, sort of average, we've done alright. I do think he might just stay the same rating, so I'm going to go with him staying at 80 rated. You've got to keep this in mind, guys, that these players do play for Chelsea, which in FIFA and football is quite a big club, so you don't necessarily see loads of players drop or, go up loads. So I am being, some of these players are only going to change by 1 or 2, but there will be some more exciting choices, don't get me wrong on that. But our next centre-back we're going to go for is Kurt Zouma. Now, Kurt Zouma on FIFA 20 is rated 80, which I thought was a bit low, considering I think he was quite good for Everton. I do think that he will get upgraded by 1. So him and Rudiger will both be 81 rated centre-backs. I do think Zuma's better than Rudiger, but I don't think based off this season. I think with Chelsea having a pretty poor defensive record, despite Zuma being good, I think it's going to hinder him going up more. But I do think it is clear to say he's our best centre-back. So I do think a +1 is fair enough for the French defender, and hopefully he'll go up even more next season, playing next to Thiago Silva, and hopefully, improving even more and showing what a great centre-back he is, because I've always believed he's Chelsea's best centre-back, and I think people are now finally coming around to that fact. And finally, last but not least, in the centre-back position, Fikayo Tomori. Now, I believe he was a silver, but he got upgraded during the season to a 77 rated gold. Since then, he hasn't really done much. He had a bit more of a better first half of the season, but I still would probably upgrade Tomori by 1 more point and say that he's a 78. I mean, he's not worse than Christensen is, but he's obviously not going to shoot up that much at his age and at his original FIFA 20 position. So I do think in FIFA 21 we will see a 78 for Fikayo Tomori with hopefully a very nice potential rating as well. And oh my god, his pace, he is going to be very overpowered in the next FIFA. Probably a very popular Ultimate Team pick. I could see many people picking him and Joe Gomez as their centre-back duo next season. So, let's move on to the fullbacks, I guess. Starting with the left-backs, we'll start with Emerson, who is a 77 rated player. I think he's going to obviously go down. Hasn't had a good season. Started off well the first few games, but just basically gave up. So I do think he's going to go from a 77 rated player to a 75 rated player as well. And he probably won't even be a Chelsea player. He will probably be at a team like Inter Milan. Going on to another player, Marcos Alonso. He is an 81 rated player. And do you know what? I'm going to predict that he actually stays the same just because he has the goals. He still has the goal contributions. He has performed alright for us at left wing back. Whilst I don't think he's had a great season, nor do I think he's a great player in terms of being a left back, I do think his goal contributions are going to help him out in this, and I do think he's actually going to stay the same rating. Not saying he should, but I actually think that he will. But moving on to right back, which is a bit more exciting. Obviously Ben Chilwell is coming in, so we'll hopefully have a good left back in FIFA and in real life from now on. But at right back there are no issues. We have Azpilicueta and we have Reece James. Going to start off with Dave, the captain, Cesar Azpilicueta, 84 rated. Didn't have a great start to the season and is getting older, but he did have a good end to the season. Second half of the season, I think he was very good, very solid. And let's be honest, football fans, as well as probably FIFA, like to remember more of the latter stuff in the season than the stuff that happened at the start. So I actually think he's going to stay the same. There is the possibility he'll go down by 1, but I don't think he should. I think he's still a great right back. He probably will go down in pace or physical stats, stuff like that. But I do think he's been very good for us, so I would keep him at an 84 rated player for this season. Reece James is a 73 rated silver. Definitely not going to be that. He has had a bit of an up and down season, but he really has solidified his pace in the team towards the latter ends of the season. So I think he'll go from a 73 up by 4 to a 77 rated gold. Played a bit less than Tomori, so will maybe be 1 rating lower than him, but I wouldn't be surprised to see someone like Reece James get one of those winter upgrade cards next season, as I do think he will be maybe a breakthrough player for us in general next year, at least fingers crossed. So that was pretty much all the defence. I'm going to now go through our central midfield, maybe starting a bit more on the defensive side of the midfield. I'm going to go and start with, let's go for Jorginho, 83 rated. I think he was probably an 83 rated player throughout the start of the season for us. He played very well, showed his leadership qualities. First half of the season, Jorginho for us was great, but he is getting older and his second half of the season wasn't very good. He did obviously get just moved out of the team, but when he did play, it looked like his head sort of wasn't there. Maybe it was just rustiness because he wasn't really getting loads of game time, I'm not too sure. But I do think he will get downgraded by 1 point to an 82, which is a shame, but I do think that is what's going to happen. Maybe he'll stay the same, but I doubt it. I'm going to move on next to the player who a lot of people think is replacing Jorginho. That is Billy Gilmore, the youngster. 62 rated in FIFA 20. No way that's happening. I could see him probably be moved to anything above 70 and below 75. I'm going to go with 72. I think because he hasn't made loads of appearances for us. He's had very good performances though against Liverpool, Everton. Has started a few games in the Premier League. Could be 74, but I just don't see it yet. I think he's going to be 72 rated in the next game. And then finishing with the more defensive-minded midfielders, I'm going to be going with N'Golo Kante. And sad to say, guys, I think he's going to go from an 89 to an 88, solely because his season was riddled with injuries. He did have some great performances. I still think he's our best player. He's still one of the world's best midfielders, But this was just an off season for him. Hopefully his fitness gets sorted out and he can, show us why he is one of the greatest midfielders next season, and maybe even go back up in FIFA 22. But I do think with FIFA 21 he is going to take a -1 hit, just because it's been a very stop and start season for Kante. Going on to our other midfielders, let's just get Ross Barkley out of the way. Hasn't had a bad season for Chelsea, hasn't played a lot, but he's done bits for us when he has played. He's scored some important goals, but I do think he will probably go down by -1, and that is just a lack of game time, to be honest. I do think that just does affect some players' ratings. I think he'll go down from a 79 to a 78. 79 was probably a bit high for him, to be honest. I think some people say that English players get treated a bit better in Footheads. Maybe they don't anymore. It's Footheads, I just mean Ultimate Team. But yeah, if I'm looking off the screen slightly, guys, it's just that I've got the players' ratings in front of me just so I don't forget them. But I do think that Barkley will probably go down by 1 and may well probably not be a Chelsea player as well. Next player, Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Now, despite him not getting a lot of game time, I'm actually going to keep him the same at 79. Maybe that's biased because I really like the guy and think he's a great central midfielder. But I do think when a player's basically been injured the whole season, you can't really judge anything off that. You can't really downgrade them and you can't really upgrade them. He's looked alright as well since the restart, just getting back on track, getting back, in the swing of things. Hopefully he'll be great next season. I do think that after next season he will be rated above 80. That is my prediction. I do think FIFA 22 we will see an above 80 rated Loftus-Cheek, but I think for this season he will stay at a 79 rated player. Improve his dribbling, by the way. I don't think his dribbling's that great on Ultimate Team for what I can remember, and this guy is a very good dribbler of the ball, a lot more agile than people give him credit for. I think mainly because of his height and build, but he's basically a bit like a Kovacic but bigger, and can actually, score a goal. But anyway, moving on to the man, Mateo Kovacic. He was an 82 rated player and he won Chelsea's Player of the Season. He actually got downgraded, which I think is fair because under Sarri I didn't think he was a great player. I mentioned that in my last video. I actually didn't rate him at all under Sarri. But let's be honest, he's become an amazing player for us. He's had a great season. And whilst next season I'm not 100% convinced that he'll be a consistent starter for us, which may shock some, he obviously deserves an upgrade. I think he's going to go up by 2 to an 84 rated player. We might maybe see him as an 85, but I don't think he's necessarily played consistently enough. I think he's been consistent, but I don't think he's played consistently enough to maybe boost up to an 85. So I think 84 is where we will see Kovacic going up by that rating. Finally, in the midfield, we have Mason Mount. Rated 79 rated. I do think he was rated... Was he rated 75 before and got an upgrade? I think he was. But, yeah, going up. I'm actually going to move him up as well by 1. So he is an 80 rated player. Been absolutely great for us. Consistent. Scored some great goals. Important clutch goals as well, like against Wolves. Defensive work good. All round very good player. Maybe some people may argue he's not the most technically gifted player, but the work this guy puts in is just insane. And I do think that despite getting upgraded during the last game, I think he will get a +1 upgrade as well and hit that 80 rated mark, which I think will be very good for him. Wingers, I'm not going to do Willian because he's just not a Chelsea player anymore. If you wanted my prediction, I'd probably say he'll just stay the same rating because of a combination of him having a decent season but his age as well. Could go up by 1, you never know, but maybe FIFA will boost him up by 1 just because of his transfer, but who knows. But if I am going by the other wingers, we only really have 2 that we can comment on, and that is Callum Hudson-Odoi and Christian Pulisic. Pedro as well has gone off to Roma. He'll probably get downgraded because he didn't feature that much this season. So just getting those 2 out of the way. The 2 older wingers that have left. Moving through to the younger wingers that will be replacing them. Hudson-Odoi, I think, will go from a 74 to a 75. Now, don't get me wrong, he didn't have a great season this season. But in the Premier League, his season this season was better. He got his Premier League goal. He's got a few assists. Yes, he hasn't, had the Europa League success like last season. But considering he's gone up by 1 in age, from, whatever age he was to the age he is now, I think he might still be... Is he still 19 or is he 12? I think he still might be 19. I do think he will go up by 1. Just to that low-level gold, the 75 rated gold. I do think he will be there, and I do think that he will rise quite a lot. Maybe during the next game, but also maybe after. I do think we'll see him be an 80 rated player come the end of FIFA 21. Another bold prediction, Loftus-Cheek and Hudson-Odoi to be above 80 rated in FIFA 22. This is turning into a bit of a FIFA 22 prediction as well, but let's not try and get too carried away. Let's stick with FIFA 21. I think Callum Hudson-Odoi will go from 74, 75. Christian Pulisic, 79 rated. I think he will go up to an 81, solely again because his game time this season hasn't been consistent. He didn't have an amazing start, but since the restart he's just been very good, unplayable to some defenders, having them on strings, dribbling through Liverpool's defence, scoring goals, winning penalties, getting assists. This guy's definitely getting an upgrade, and I think it will be to an 81 rated player, and expect that rating to just go up and up and up from now on. Now we've got 3 players left. That is Michy Batshuayi, who we'll start with first. Get him out the way. Probably won't be a Chelsea player next season. I'll just downgrade him by 1 because he has scored some important goals for us, some good goals for us this season, a couple, but hasn't really featured for us. I think he'll probably go to another Premier League team. Maybe he'll get downgraded more. He might get downgraded to a 77, but I'll stick with 78 just because he hasn't featured that much and has scored. The goal against Ajax, maybe that's just a bit too fond in my memory and that's why I'm letting him off a bit, but I think he'll be a 78. Going to Olivier Giroud. Now, despite Giroud being an 82 rated player and performing very well during the Premier League restart and a bit before then, I do think because of his age and because of his sort of lack of game time from the first half of the season, we will still see him get downgraded to an 81. I think that will be a bit of a shock to some, but I do think he will still go down. Maybe he shouldn't, but that's what I'm predicting. I think that despite Giroud being very good and very important for us towards the end of the season, I do think his lack of minutes is going to be the deciding factor in him going down to an 81. Tammy Abraham, 76 rated. He's our top scorer in the league, guys. He's going way above that, but like I said, FIFA, especially with goals, don't like to completely jump the gun with them and boost them up all the way, and obviously Tammy did not have the best end to the season. He picked up a little bit, but that sort of middle to end period he didn't really score, and that is just because of his injury, guys. He was carrying an injury for so long and it was really hampering his play. But you can't ignore he's our top scorer in the league. Has scored some goals in the Champions League as well. I think he's going to go from a 76 to an 80 rated player. Him and Mount will both be 80 rated players in FIFA 21. That is my prediction. What do you guys think of my predictions? Who do you think will be upgraded? Who do you think will be downgraded? Please leave your thoughts in the comments section below. I'd love to see some of the ratings you guys are predicting for FIFA 21, and maybe you could sway my opinion. Maybe I'll see where you guys are coming from, or maybe we can have a little bit of a debate in the comments. That would be interesting too. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Please be sure to leave a like rating as well. That would be greatly appreciated, and be sure to subscribe to the BusterBarnes YouTube channel for footballing, FIFA and Fantasy Premier League content coming to you in the future. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you for the next video.